Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. I am Jackie Horton. This is my virtual wellness and health coaching service through my business, The Circle of Health. I am back. Sorry I missed you on Friday. I was trying to really get more prepared before I start, videoing again. Thank God I was able to secure a social media manager this weekend, and he's going to be assisting me in making sure all of the videos are on one channel under one name. And so we're looking into merging those as we speak. And so thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for looking at the videos, sharing your likes and dislikes and any feedback, because I think, that's how we grow any business. That's how we stay engaged, and that's how we interact. So remembering the three things, the three reasons why I'm doing this. One is to promote wellness and health. Two is to amplify long-standing solutions, and three is to uplift those things that are positive, and that are strength and in strength oriented, that we can continue to build upon, because that is what we need. So remember, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday are different topics. And Monday is about behavior health slash mental health, or just expressions of different behaviors. Tuesday is healthy organ and healthy body. Wednesday is health moves, and Thursday is one of the tenets from my coaching program. And Friday, which I didn't do last Friday, I referred to it as Village Talk, which I opened the mic to talk about different issues that impact all of us in our lives as well. And because, as I stated earlier, I wanted to have a little bit help in the background before I did that. I'm more likely to do it this week, this Friday. And it will not be in the morning, it would be in the evening, where I can get people to call in and talk. So, with further ado, today my topic would be on the family. And I kind of wanted to keep it broad as an overview, because it does give an idea of how I can incorporate different ways that we express ourselves behaviorally. So, one of the things we know is the family is the micro composition of life, of the human life in the world. It is our foundation, it is our roots, it's the beginning of life. And with that being stated, we know that vertically is the same process to create life is through female and male coming together, forming a child, and so forth. And so, whether it's husband and wife or not, there is, the father and the mother that is considered the hierarchy of the family. All right. And with that being stated, the family, there are three ways that I sort of broke down as far as ways that I look for when I work with individuals when the family is not in the room, but the family is in the room because the person is in the room. I look at three ways that they learn to express themselves or behave. One is through their interaction and their communication. So I look at the person and listen to the person's ways of interacting via communicating and understanding and communicating and engaging with his or her world. The second thing that I look into is the person's ability to manage or tolerate closeness. And closeness means, definitely dealing with trust, dealing with intimacy, um, dealing with, transparency and so forth. So interaction is one, connection is the second one. The third one that I look into is listening for the person's expectations, how that the family origin um, contribute to how the person reads his or her world and his or her expectation in response to his or her world. And when I say world, I'm also including that person personal life as well as that person's social life. So the three areas that I look into as far as when I work with a person is their interaction, their ability to connect, and their expectations of themselves and how they present in the world. So whether the father and mother are married or not, in the world, in America, we have defined family in different capacities. There can be a single family home. There can be other forms of family home that, consist of, the older sibling, younger sibling, and so forth, foster family, and so on. And with the hierarchy, that hierarchy is so solid in the foundation of sort of like the outcome of the person's life, right? It is just kind of like the hallmark of where we should begin to do any of the work. because the interaction, connection, and expectation is really developed as a result of what did take place in the hierarchy. Whether one person is missing, unavailable, or uninvolved, all those impact those three areas that I mentioned. And how it impacts it, it creates, whether it's balanced or not, it does create the stability and security from day one that the person experiences. Okay. So if the hierarchy is intact and is solid and grounded, uh, usually stability and security is pretty consistent, even when there's different crises that come forth. But when the hierarchy is broken or one or not really fully, together, then it impacts the security and the stability. And one of the things that humans fight for, and all mammals fight for, is security and stability and the ability to be safe. It is a natural, innate process within us to have those three things: stability, security, and safety. Okay. So, and when there's a missing component of that in the hierarchy, as the family is being developed, there's a longing that comes from that the person searches for time and time again. And sometimes that search is within the family, it can be even a child, and sometimes an external, or it can be a combination of both. But the point is that when there is an imbalance, there's a search for balance and security and safety. Okay. And and the way I look at that is that, when you think about it, if you had only one leg, you wouldn't be able to balance. You wouldn't be able to steady your gait. You would need something to stabilize you. Or if you're sitting in a chair and there's two legs, but there's not a crossbar that connect the two legs, the chair wouldn't be able to hold you up. Or you can, like if you think of a tent, same thing. If you don't, you may have the two side, but you may need that third side to create the stability in case the winds blow, in case it starts raining. So when there's broken ties or trauma or anything like that, that takes place when that hierarchy within the family is, broken and damaged and impacted or injured, those longing for safety, security, and stability is almost like a bottomless pit. And it does alter your interaction. It does alter your connection, and it does alter your expectations, okay, of yourself and with others. I mean, one may become very smothering, very, very smothering, where they're just, we know what smothering is, when you can't breathe, when you can't, release yourself, when you can't stretch yourself out. Then there's the distancing. And then there's also the guardedness. Now, some people ask, I thought the distancing and guardedness was the same. And so the way I look at distancing, being a distant person, is that you're unaware that you're distant emotionally and physically. Uh, and so you operate in that way, and people always, well, what people may say to you, you just seem like you're not in touch, you're not present, you're not around, even though the person's standing there going like, what are you talking about? I completely heard you, I'm completely where I need to be. But guardiness is it's intentional, and it's highly cautious, and it's based on keeping yourself protected no matter what. And it is a natural response to being hurt and injured. So little things, even the smallest things, become suspicious. Like, for example, if somebody forgets to, say good morning to you, and they come back and say, hey, how's it going? And your response is like, what do you mean, how's it going? Like you just saw me in the hallway. Although they may not say that, but that's how they feel. So guardedness and distancing are two different things, and that's how they express themselves. One is unaware, and the other one is aware and very intentional. So when we are born in a place of insecurity or intolerance of discomfort or emotional unawareness, over time we start to create this orientation that's repetitive and becomes a familiar cycle that we continue to live out in our personal lives and also in our social lives. Because as we learn that, even though it may bring us to a place of feeling lonely and insecure, it does provide us with balance because we know it, right? And a lot of times, balance is based on the familiarity of what we know rather than if it's good for us or not. So we continue that process. So one of the and when I was practicing to become a family therapist, one of the uh, psychoanalytical therapists, I believe, sort of coined these different types, 8 common dysfunctional types that take place, and when the family starts off with a broken structure, and how the structure tries to balance itself. So I mean, you know, you know, I like to have images and visuals of when I work with a family, so I can, better kind of like see how they operate outside the process. But these are just, descriptions that were used, and that was very helpful at one time. So the 8 common dysfunctional roles that some, probably most of all of us have, become as a result of trying to balance something in the natural family or the family of origin. One is the golden child. Now we look at the golden child is the one who's perfect, knows just a goody, and does well, lines up, have good, what do you say? Hit all the dots properly, and they're just golden to the family. They don't cause any problems. They're always referred to as the one to look up to. The second one is the hero. And this is the one who may be a shining star in a very, very dysfunctional family, where he or she may be the smartest or the best athlete, or the one who, is very socially and, on cue. And so it's sort of like the hero in the family sort of tries to present to the world like, see, we're very normal, nothing is wrong here. Look what came out of this family, and so on and so forth. Um, that's another form of way we define a person's behavior as it relates to what the instability from the family and the dyad, which is the father and mother. The other one is called the mascot, and they will jump in and diffuse a conflict, even if it's the two parents, even if it's the parent and the child, even if they're the youngest child and it's the older child with the parent. So they'll get in and diffuse the problem, work, create a solution, cheer each other on to keep moving forward, and to, be more patient with each other. And then, then we have the person who may be considered like the identified patient. Many times when I used to work in foster care and in schools and inpatient centers, if I saw the child in session, usually the parents would come together if there were a 2-parent home, and they would speak eloquently and concisely on this child's behavior and what he or she does. And the child is kind of considered the identified patient when it continues to repeat itself, because somehow the child is becoming the target and of what's not being said in the family. Then the other ways of expression is the scapegoat, and we've all heard that, because people have even said that, I was a scapegoat at my job, or I was a scapegoat at my in my family. And this is the one who's usually explained and sort of like, as one therapist put it, probably the most honest, because this is the person that says what it is. And being in the settings that I've worked in, I've had, you know, the scapegoat like really come forth hard. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. This is what's going on with our family. And so, yeah, so they're the ones that really come forward hardcore, straightforward. And they're the ones who usually have been connected to breaking the family cycle of dysfunction. Just saying. All right. Then there's the lost child, the one who's quiet, who's silent, trauma and chaos is all around this person. And that person is quiet, nonverbal, definitely suffering with low self-esteem and so low self-worth. And I cannot tell you the number of times that I have met this child. And it is heartbreaking for me, because I'd rather a child be physically expressive with crying and fussing and everything, rather than a child who silently perish. That's another story. All right. Then there's an enabler or the caretaker, which we all know about that person, because we do have one in every family, and we're just, they know who they are and we know who they are too. And then we also heard about the parentified child. And this is a child who has, is a second parent, but has very little authority. But they do what they need to do to make sure the parent that needs the support is balanced in the household, as far as with authority, power, and influence. And so, when you think about these things, you sort of can kind of see a visual how that vertical, process plays out in each and every one of us and how we express ourselves in the world. All these are behavioral conditions that can be, modified, even eliminated with the appropriate attention to them. And so you're not stuck in this place forever. So one of the things I just want to leave with is that family is where it begins and also where it ends. And the final thing, Michael J. Fox stated, family isn't an important thing, it is everything. And that is true. It is everything as far as who you are and what you and how you represent yourself in the world. So I thank you for joining me today. And I should be on every day this week. Please, recommend people to subscribe. And I appreciate your time. And hopefully the videos will start to get much better. And now that I have a social media person. So you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed one. And thank you again. Bye bye.